tried to warn them. They didn't listen.
Yeah!
Every week, the Hoffman Show goes into the belly of the beast.
We read those comments, baby.
Never read the comments.
Except for we do. Weekly, 5:30 on the Team 980. You can leave your comments at the Team 980 or at Craig Hoffman on YouTube. And we will respond to the good ones, the thoughtful ones. I reply to plenty online as well. It was a very interesting, kind of almost weird week for me on YouTube, and because there was obviously a lot of football content. We also got some Iowa USC comments to respond to because our breakdown of the game got over 12,000 views in just a couple of days. It's one of our biggest videos of the month.
Good gracious.
Everyone watches women's sports, they say.
I see.
Turns out they were right. But we start off with the football, and we start off with some reaction to Mock Draft 1.0 that Anthony and I did yesterday here on the old radio show. Austin says, I really like the idea for the Commanders getting back into the first and taking their left tackle of the future to pair with the rookie QB. Would be huge if it played out that way. Frequent streamer of the show, the most frequent commenter on the live stream, Locked On Law, says if all Washington gets out of this entire draft is a quarterback at number 2 and a left tackle at 20 or thereabouts, and if both pan out, this will be a successful draft. That's two cornerstone positions they desperately need to fill. Defensive end is number 3 on the list. If you draft a quarterback and you have someone to protect him, that's good. Lucas is not that protector. Of course, that's what we did, Anthony. We traded back up. And I said in our reaction video, if you will, our reaction segment yesterday later in the show, when we thought about and kind of reflected on what we learned in the first round, I did say I have a little bit of regret in trading back up for a pass protector, not because I don't think that we got great value in trading up for Amarius Mims. I think we went to 23 with Washington in that trade, but because the tackle depth in this draft is greater than the edge depth, there wasn't an edge on the board for us to trade up with, and so ultimately, I'm fine with it. But it is something to watch for on draft day if they trade back into the first round because Laiatu Latu falls or one of the other, I guess we could have gone Darius or Chop Robinson. I would probably pick Darius for this team, but I would trust Dan Quinn if he wants to go Chop Robinson. I think that it's about when you all of a sudden look at the board for the next day and you go, okay, well, what's left? Which is why when Linnell, for instance, is gung-ho on trading up for Brian Thomas Jr. in the first round, trading back into the first round for BTJ, it's not that I don't like the idea in a vacuum. It's that the idea doesn't exist in a vacuum. There are so many receivers in this class that trading up for him is not that much of a value compared to just taking someone where you're at and also getting an extra player. Versus if you can get an elite offensive tackle or an elite edge player, maybe not elite, but top-notch, tier 2, versus a tier 3 or tier 4 tackle or edge, that is a really important piece. I would agree that tackle is more important, and ultimately, I'm not going to be mad about coming out of this draft with a first-round quarterback and a first-round left tackle, which also does complicate things, too, because Tyler Guyton's been a right tackle. But even if you get Guyton and he's your right tackle for the next decade, then I think you've done well.
Yeah, and I think I said it before, just because the defensive end position isn't so deep, I wouldn't mind, going with the defensive tackle ahead of an offensive lineman, even though I think our need is more so on the offensive line before it is the defensive line. But,
100% the need is more.
Yeah.
You have starters at defensive end. You need impact players.
Yes.
You have a backup currently starting. One of the better backups in the league. Cornelius Lucas is very, very good as a swing tackle. Can pretty equally play left or right and has shown an ability to start multiple games. He's the caliber of swing tackle that he can't just buy you a couple series. He could buy you a couple games. But do you want to play 17? Not so much. And that's where Washington is right now, which makes an Amarius Mims thing super interesting because he played really well at the SEC.
Nope.
All of his tape is good tape. The thing is, it's only 8 games worth. So there's very little experience at Georgia for Amarius Mims. talking about the quarterback position, Derek B2405 says, of course, year one matters, as I was talking about. Do you want you're the best guy in year one, day one, or do you want the guy who's going to help you most over the next 5 to 10 years? Of course, year one matters. In what walk of life does 20% of a 5-year contract not matter to a business? If the Commanders plan to draft Drake May with the expectation that year one doesn't matter, then they should trade Terry McLaurin and Jonathan Allen for as much capital as they can get before the draft. I would say this is what we call a half-baked take. It's not that there's nothing wrong here or nothing right here. It's just, I don't know that we fully thought it through. One, the second part first. That would presume that Terry and John can't help you in years 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I don't think that's accurate. Especially years 2 and 3. I think 4 and 5 are still on the board, especially for Terry. Positionally speaking, that age is a little better than D-line. But you still can help in year one, set you up for year 2 and year 3 and year 4. But the point here is to what? What are we playing for, Ant? What do they give out at the end of the year?
A Super Bowl?
Yes, they give out a Lombardi. And is there basically any way the Commanders are collecting a Lombardi in year one?
Nope.
So at that point, if I tell you player A is going to help you win 8 to 9 games in year one, player B might not be ready to play, and thus he's going to develop, and you might only win 6 games. But in year 2, 3, 4, and 5, player B, that second guy, is going to be more likely to help you win a Lombardi. Which one would you rather have? You'd rather have player B.
Yeah, the latter.
Yeah, the guy's going to help you win the Lombardi. And that's what we're talking about here. And we don't know which guy is player A and player B. It feels like Jayden Daniels is player A and Drake May is player B, the way that a lot of people have set this up. And I don't know that that's actually true. But the point is, I don't really care that much how ready they are instantaneously, not because it doesn't matter at all, not because, yes, the clock is constantly ticking when you have that rookie quarterback contract, and the sooner you can win, the better. But the reality is, these guys are more likely than not, barring something miraculous happening, and miraculous would be like a repeat of C.J. Stroud's season where Houston still got knocked out early and wasn't really a serious contender on the Chiefs level. You're not winning the Super Bowl. So this is kind of my thing with the Wizards too. When you're bad, it doesn't matter how bad you are as long as you're on the right path to being good. Now, at some point, your badness is a symptom of whether or not you're on the right path, but not this early. Not for the Wizards, and certainly not in year one of the Commanders, who are investing in at least 5-year project, hoping to draft a quarterback that lasts them at least a decade. Continuing on, never read the comments. A couple of J.J. McCarthy, Joe Burrow, Drake May, were they all were the narrative where the conversation meets? First of all, just a funny one, a little palate cleanser at the expense of someone who watches every single video and leaves almost the identical types of comments on them. Our guy Aubrey 44, who I would say is a Jayden Daniels militant, relentlessly since January has he said Jayden Daniels is the pick. Dismisses the thought that anybody else could possibly hold a football and walk 2 steps without dropping it. Nevertheless, play quarterback in the NFL when it comes to Drake May or J.J. McCarthy or anyone not named Jayden Daniels. This to me was just so funny. And this is what happens when you blindly don't have critical thinking skills and you just support a guy. Why are we talking about J.J. McCarthy's and Daniels in the same sentence? J.J. McCarthy was a passenger in Michigan. Meanwhile, Jayden Daniels was driving the bus at LSU. He elevated his teammates' play. Don't believe me? Look at Neighbors and Thomas's stats from 2022. Trivia question, Anthony.
I think I can guess the question you're about to ask.
Go for it.
Who was the quarterback in 2022?
Oh, you did. And what's the answer?
Jayden Daniels.
The same bleeping guy! What are we doing? Again, I'm at a point right now, 2 weeks from the draft, that I'd probably take Jayden Daniels second. I am not a Jayden Daniels hater, despite what some of these comments say. It is the funniest thing to me, though, to watch people bend themselves in the dumbest shaped pretzel that they've ever witnessed to defend something that doesn't even need defending. It's okay to say multiple guys could be good. It's okay to be like, man, Jayden really improved. I love that about him, and I think it could continue. That's where I'm at right now. You hear the stories about his work ethic. The more I read, the more I see, the more I listen to NFL execs who have talked to him, the more everything. The more comfortable I get with Jayden Daniels at number 2. And I was never really that uncomfortable with it. But to say he was a passenger, JJ's a passenger. No. He was driving a really nice car and he did a great job of not crashing it. And occasionally there was a couple of obstacles that he had to dodge and he did a really freaking good job. Mostly he got to ride a really good engine to a national championship, but that dude's a good driver. So he wasn't a passenger, he was at the very least a driver. But more importantly to your point on Jayden, Aubrey, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. We got this one from Super Duper DB Goat 4042. What was the scouting report for Joe Burrow? And actually, Burrow had 16 touchdowns and 5 interceptions the year before his historic year. He actually played 2 years. Was a knock against him that he played with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. I've kind of been waiting all week to do this bit, which is to say, there were no questions about Joe Burrow because his final season at LSU was so redonkulously, unimpeachably good that there were no questions to be asked. Okay, one, there's a reason people watch the tape. And when every throw is there on tape, when he's in full command of the offense, yes, he is playing with 2 top 5 NFL wide receivers and an NFL running back and had some NFL offensive linemen all there at LSU. All true. And yes, Jayden Daniels, you could say many of the same things about. But Joe Burrow threw for 5,600 yards, 5,600 yards, 60 touchdowns, and 6 picks. Okay? Until this season, Jayden Daniels had never thrown for 20 touchdowns in a season, neither had Burrow before that year. So both of them had never thrown for 20, and Burrow threw for 20 more than Jayden did in his Heisman Trophy year this year. The tape was almost flawless. It was perfect. He was the unanimous number 1 pick. Burrow would have been taken probably above Caleb Williams. That's how good of a prospect Burrow was. There was no questions because he left no crumbs. Jayden Daniels, there's crumbs. There's not a lot. He's really good. I like him a lot. But you cannot just say, oh, he played with a bunch of talent and he's old, so he's basically Joe Burrow. No, he's not. Stop saying that. You'll sound smarter. This is why I shouldn't read this many comments. But I read a lot of comments, and I did read so many different Burrows, battles. Everything, Ant. Every way you could mess up Joe Burrow's name, someone trying to compare Jayden Daniels to Joe Burrow messed it up. Hilarious.
That's funny. Battle. Wow.
I'm in a battle right now. I will make this admission mid never read the comments, Anthony. I have found myself in a dark place multiple times over the last week after scrolling through too many comments. I am too online right now. I cannot wait for this draft to be over. I want people to keep watching and commenting on the content. For sure. I might not engage with as many. It's not even engage with, because I do actually enjoy the back and forth. I'm going to limit myself to blocks of intended, or of like focused engagement, where I'm sitting down and it's work. I'm like, I'm working right now. I'm doing this. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm bored on the couch. Let me scroll YouTube comments. It's not good for your mentals. So just, I'm in part doing this in the middle of this segment to hold myself accountable. So commenters, feel free, if you see me whipping it up with folks in a way that doesn't seem healthy, be like, Craig, get offline. Come back later with intention and set a timer. Anyway, this is the kind of comment that I actually really genuinely enjoy, though. And not just because it starts with love your show, man. But RJ Beal says, love your show. I just think with this topic, talking about the comparison of the quarterbacks, you make excuses for May. Whenever you say something good about Daniels, it ends with a but. I would have been excited if someone told me 6 months ago that we could get May. However, after the season Daniels had in the SEC, I think Daniels is the better player. At the end of the day, I'll be happy with whoever we pick. I think we have the right people in place to make the right decision. Keep doing your thing, HTTC. And I think this is fair criticism of how I've gone about this, because it feels like the buts for Daniels are then but it's not like it but pull down, and May it's but pull up. And that's, I think, because the tape is cleaner for Daniels versus the reasons why May's tape isn't as good are the thing for May, which then puts them kind of close even in the projection in my eyes, why I have them in the same tier on the same level. And so it's for May, it's the things that you mentioned. The most important things are, hey, this isn't there or this is flawed, but this is why I think it's happening. And it's not that I excuse it or give it a pass, but I don't think it's a problem in the projection. Versus, hey, this thing is awesome, which is why we're even talking about Jayden Daniels in the first place, but I worry that he can sustain it at the next level. And thus, these two players who have very different production are actually closer to even. I understand why that feels like I'm pulling Jayden down and pushing Drake up, because if that is it, then I am. But I think it's important to, one, point out where I'm pushing them up and pulling them down from, which is like Jayden way up here, Drake down here, and I'm pulling Jayden down to like from 10 to 8 and pushing Drake up from 6 to 7.5, or 6 to 8 if you want to put them truly even. I think that's an important data point. And I also say that sometimes I say, hey, evaluators will dismiss this thing, but I don't. So it's sometimes just trying to paint a full picture of what people are looking at, adding extra context, and then letting you make your decisions whether or not that's important to you or not. Because I will tell you, even the Commanders draft room, where they've got, they just hired all these people and, they're trying to be all kumbaya on the same page. There's going to be, you ask a coach, a scout, a GM, the assistant GM, they're all going to have different opinions. And it's because they're all going to value different things. And they're all going to say, yep, no, I excuse that versus I don't excuse that. So that's just trying to paint the picture. I think ultimately the footwork stuff with May worries me more than some of the flaws, if you will, in Jayden's tape that are also explainable. Like, for instance, Jayden Daniels doesn't throw over the middle a lot. Here, I'll do a Drake May but with Jayden Daniels. This will make everybody happy. Jayden Daniels doesn't throw over the middle a lot, but it's because his receivers win all the time on the outside. He's got 2 first-round receivers on the outside, and if I had dudes that were that good, I would throw out there too. There you go. I did it. Hopefully people are happy with that. Let's see. We had a ton. I would just say this real quick, because we're running low on time. Some of the comments on the Iowa-South Carolina video, wild. I would watch First Take just for, made of YouTube commenters on Iowa USC comments on my YouTube page. That's a debate show. Stephen A would be blushing over some of the comments we got. I didn't put a lot of those in there. I just wanted to tell people, if you want a show, go check out those comments. Here's some of the ones we did get. Michael Wankachesh, which really I just wanted to put in because his last name appears to be Wankachesh. 6209. I'm such a child. No one is mentioning the bracket screwed number 1 seed Iowa. They played UConn and reigning champs LSU before the championship. South Carolina got to play Oregon State and NC State. Iowa was tired from fierce battles while the Gamecocks rolled and rested against teams that would have also lost just as badly to Iowa, LSU, and UConn. Everybody talked about that, Michael. I don't know where no one. Everybody talked about that as the tournament went on. Also, South Carolina didn't exactly roll against those teams. Just ask Dawn Staley. She'll tell you. This was one of my favorite wackadoodle ones. Madison says, it was Caitlin Clark's job to convince someone to come play with her. She's got basketball friends. It would have been easy. She needed help. I would argue she didn't want help because she wanted the records. That's a take, man.
Wow.
That's all you got? Wow.
I mean,
honestly, that's the correct response. Don't say anything else. Eric says, South Carolina had a way better team. They should have won by a lot more, but give credit to Iowa for playing super hard. Iowa had some open shots that could have made the game very close, but I don't see it as Iowa made any crucial mistakes that cost them the game. If Iowa did or didn't do something, South Carolina would have done something else and still win the game, in my opinion. You never play a perfect game, so Iowa should be proud of their performance and their season. I actually liked that comment from Eric, which is why I included it. And I think that's kind of what we said ultimately is like Iowa will kick themselves because there are things that they could have done that they were in their control that they could have done better. And that is the nature of being a competitor. What's funny is I saw a quote later after we did our analysis of that game from Caitlin Clark being like, I can sleep at night. We gave it our all. And I think that's actually a healthy way to be because I tend to agree that South Carolina would have found a way. Do I think if you play this game 10 times, South Carolina wins 10? No, but they probably win 8 or 9 because they're that good and they deserve that kind of credit. I will also shout out real quick, Robert Corwin 2340. He left a longer comment, but I'm not going to read his full comment. If you want Robert's analysis, you can go to my YouTube page and check out his comment because, quote, I am a long time, age 76, mostly retired high school girls basketball scout and writer. And Robert took the time to comment on our video, Ant.
Now that's dope. But
shout out to Robert.
Is he retired or is he not retired?
He says mostly retired.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. You'd have to ask Robert. Last but not least. Oh, I did have one of the Joe Burrow mispronunciations at the bottom of my list here. It wasn't Battle. I had Joe Burrell, Anthony.
Oh, my
Burrell.
God.
Burrell. And then this one from Michael Lombardo, 5604. Random thought, what if Joe Milton is our Brock Purdy?
All right.
Watching your facial expressions change there from like, that's the dumbest thing I've to
What if? Because at first I thought he was trying to like compare their
That's
arms.
what I thought. I think what just happened to you is what happened to me, which is you start off by going, you realize those are like the two most opposite prospects you could have ever possibly picked in every conceivable fashion. But I think he just means a late round pick that works out. I think Milton will probably go maybe late second, third, somewhere in there.
Okay.
He's not going to come to Washington.
Do you think we take another quarterback though?
No.
Okay.
No. Because they said they want 4 in camp, and they've already, the QB1 taken at 1.2 will be the 4th one.
Yeah, but who's to say,
I guess they
don't go to
could.
camp with,
They could. Who knows? Maybe they love Tanner McKee.
Oh, man.
Someone. Whatever. Clearly, that's the end of Never Read the Comments. You can leave yours, any of our on-demand content, at Craig Hoffman, at the Team 980. When we get back, it's time for our NBA tiers.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.